What you're looking at above me is a possum face, lying, scamming river rat who swindled unsuspecting victims who foolishly given to a GoFundMe that has now been shut down. This is the official mugshot of Roda Osman, who turned herself in yesterday. She's out on $10,000 bond. She'll have her day in court March 5th, where her attorney will answer for her charges. The part that I don't understand, how could you all give to a woman who says things like this?
Black people, we love scamming. We talk about scamming all the time. Since when do we have a problem with scamming? Last time I checked, I want black people to scam. They scammed us.
Oh, and let's not forget this.
Assalamu alaikum. Rhoda here to remind you that every time you lie to somebody, you're taking away their choice. You're taking away the ability for them to make a decision that's good for themselves. And that's why I always lie to the people of the global minority and men.
Ugh, this woman is from the deepest, darkest, demonic parts of hell. She's a demon. I followed this case when it first began because from its inception, it just seemed off. The blame of the black man and the screaming victim and pulling on the heartstrings of people with victim mentality or who really have suffered from the hands of an abuser. It's one of the most foul things you can do.
The saga, the now infamous bricklady. Her claims of being assaulted have turned into quite the scandal. Her real name is Roda Osman. You're looking at her there. You may remember that plea on social media. You may remember when we covered her story last September. Brigitte, you and I were duped too. Yep. We fell for it like a damn fool. She claimed a man threw a brick at her because she wouldn't give him her phone number. But investigators say the attack never happened. Osman has been charged with theft by deception. According to court documents, she collected more than $40,000 through GoFundMe. Osman is out on bond and is scheduled to go to court on March 5th. Let's keep in mind these charges are just allegations at this point, and she has not been convicted. However, we ask if the allegations are proven and are true in court, how could that impact victims of assault who come forward in the future? Joining us to talk about it, publicist Brigitte Holden, attorney Ricky Hernandez, and Factor digital producer Aji Borderin. Glad to have you here on the Factor. Since Aji, you've been monitoring this for us on social media, and you brought to our attention she was in Jamaica.
Yeah, she was.
Tell us about that video she posted. How long ago did she post that video?
I want to say that was maybe about 3 to 5 days ago. So it was actually interesting because when she was supposed to turn in her, she actually agreed to turn herself into the police a few days ago, and she didn't show up. And that same day when she didn't show up, she posted a video talking about how much she had been through in the past year and how she was reclaiming herself and trying to pour back into herself. And she was in Jamaica, and people were saying on social media, like, are you a fugitive? Like, because you're supposed to be at the police station. So it's just kind of, you know, it's really fishy when you have somebody who's raising, you know, $40,000+ you mentioned.
42 to be
42,000, had a $10,000 bond. And they're in Jamaica right before when they're supposed to be at the police station. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff around this case that just didn't feel right from the jump, and even more so as we came into the last few days.
And Ricky Hernandez, when you look at this from a criminal perspective, what is she looking at here? What is HPD charged her with? What does that mean?
Right. So she's been charged with theft by deception. So theft is a crime that, based on basically the amount of money stolen, that's going to affect the degree of the crime, right? So with her crime in particular, she's stolen, as Brigitte said, $42,000. When you steal anywhere between $30,000 and $150,000 in the state of Texas, that's a third-degree felony. So she's looking at anywhere from a minimum of 2 years to a maximum of 10 years in the state penitentiary for this crime.
Now, if she were able to get out of it, what would she have to prove? What would her attorney have to come into court and show that she did not commit fraud or deception here?
Right, so basically the way it's written now is in the complaint, it has not been indicted yet, but is that she unlawfully appropriated basically the property of GoFundMe. So she would have to prove that she basically received the property, or in this case, it's cash money. She would have to prove that she received those profits lawfully. But I mean, as it seems now, those profits were, obtained by deception. And if that's the case, then she's probably guilty.
And really quick, explain for the viewer when you say she's been charged, but she hasn't been indicted. Make the difference there. What does that mean to the average layman out there?
Right. So an indictment is really a term specific to felonies. I know it's thrown out a lot, but basically the prosecutors for the Harris County will have to prove the facts to what's called the grand jury, which is a group of 12 people from the cross section of the community. And they will see the facts from the prosecutor's point of view, and they will decide whether or not there's enough charges or enough evidence there to move forward. And if that's the case, then they will move on with the court proceedings.
And right now what we're looking at is investigative work by HPD or the law enforcement agency, and the DA saying go ahead and charge her.
Correct. There's definitely enough
before the grand jury.
Yes, Isaiah, that's correct.
All right. Brigitte, how will this impact other victims in the future if we see people on social media saying someone attacked me, they hit me with a brick, and it's because I didn't do this or that?
Well, the court of public perception is always, stronger than the actual court of law. And so now when someone comes forward, whether black, white, or whatever female, people are not going to jump so soon to believe them. So it's kind of a dangerous thing. It's like, do we come to their aid, or are they crying wolf? That story we were told as a little kid, and so now it puts people on guard, if you will. Do I trust this person? Are they telling the truth, or is it another bricklady? So you never know.
And of course, we covered this in the beginning.
We did.
Very convincing.
Yep, very convincing.
Crying and said no other men would come to her aid. They would only take video.
Yep, and men were, dragged because it made it seem like men were trash because they didn't come to her aid. And a lot of times, women, I'm trying to use my words carefully, but because we're damsels in distress, if you will, men are now going to be very cautious about coming to a person's aid, a female, if they think that she's lying. So now it's not trusted.
And Aji, we talked about it in our editorial meeting in the past. Was there any other case like this, similar to this, where there was a GoFundMe or some type of allegation that you can recall?
Well, not specifically like in that same way where we're talking about being attacked, but I mean, I think right now on social media you see a lot of people who are using their life situations, whether it be being homeless on the street or going through whatever struggles, to try to raise money, and sometimes those claims are not always fully true. So it makes people kind of think harder about whether or not they want to reach out and help people, but there's still just as many people who are questioning it. There's a vast number of people who are supporting it. I mean, even now, as Roda is going through all these charges, these charges, there are still people saying, well, why are y'all saying that she's wrong? Like, she still was attacked, or, she still went through these things. So I think when you have so many people who have access to your story at one time, you can find the people who will support you no matter what.
And Ricky, really quick before we close, is HPD at this point alleging nothing happened, or is this deception and misleading?
So from that perspective, basically it's alleged that she obtained the funds based on her social media posts through deception, which is basically defined in the penal code as like a statement of fact that would affect the judgment of a person, right? So when you're saying, claims such as I was hit in the face with a brick, I need money for my hospital bills, when I think video evidence shows, as we were just saying, that wasn't the case. I think that's a perfect, example of deception.
All right. We want to thank you all for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored.
This thing was causing conflict in people's relationships and marriages. Not just men versus women, but women versus women. Women with common sense versus radical far left feminists who are out of their goddamn minds. But I know one thing's for sure. Every unjust deed will be answered to in due time.